Presidential candidate Mark Sanford has an op-ed in the New York Times asking...
Oh, wait, he doesn't. I'm sorry.
Why do my fellow Republicans make excuses for Trump's deficits? Sanford writes in part this: President Trump's abandonment of fiscal responsibility will prove disastrous whether we think about it or not. His State of the Union address underscored his own thinking. It was long on pander and did not address our country's bleak financial state. Yet, amazingly, conservatives, whom I've long respected, somehow look the other way. This is a mistake. What is accumulating is deadly. Bad finances kill countries. There is no bigger issue. Some of my conservative friends, when I criticize the president, respond that a President Sanders would be even worse for the deficit. True. But that makes it all the more important for those of us on the right to vigorously challenge the president's reckless financial path. If the left has abandoned all sense of fiscal discipline, we have to be the ones to talk numbers that most seem to have somehow forgotten.
Okay, this is. I mean, you know, I agree with Mark. We were always fighting, Willie. We were always fighting not only Democratic administrations, we were fighting Republicans in our own Congress to balance the budget. We did it 4 years in a row for the first time since the 1920s, a century ago. And yet these Republicans that came in claiming to be Tea Partiers, like Ted Cruz comes in and says we have to keep our word this time. We can't be big government Republicans again. They have blown a hole in the deficit. It's going up to $1 trillion plus. The national debt is higher than it's ever been before. Because of Donald Trump, we're moving in a path where we are going to spend more money as it relates to the GDP and have a higher debt than we had during World War II. I mean, this is a disaster, and it's happening during good economic times with interest rates at record lows. Like there is no upside to this. It only gets worse. And it's Republicans that keep driving us over this cliff, claiming to be fiscally conservative. They've completely sold out to this failed reality TV star, and they're bankrupting America.
Joe, I find your demands for fiscal and ethical and ideological consistency quaint in the era of Donald J. Trump. The loyalty is not to those principles, but of course to Donald Trump. Steve Rattner, these are people who built their careers, many of them, on being fiscal hawks. These are people who built their careers on going after the deficit and talking about tariffs, for example. Most of them were against tariffs until Donald Trump decided he liked tariffs. Lindsey Graham, I'm thinking of him, among others. Whatever the president wants, he's getting from them.
It's interesting because the president inherited a deficit of something under $500 billion. I think it was about $450 billion. And as Joe said, it has now gone to $1 trillion. Roughly half of that rough justice is from the Trump tax cuts. Roughly half of that is from spending increases, where the Democrats, to be fair, were complicit because they got what they wanted. Trump got his military. Democrats got some other stuff. But what's also an interesting little factoid, nobody cares about this for some reason. In the 500 some odd questions that have been asked in the debates, there's not been one question in the Democratic debates, not one question about debts and deficit. It has disappeared not just from the front page, but from the back page. And Joe's completely right. This is a disaster waiting to happen.
All right, coming up, we know how Trump TV would cover Donald Trump, but how would Bloomberg TV cover a President Bloomberg? We're going to dig into that next on Morning Joe.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.